Realm Supreme, and today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on 5-year-old Summer Wells. Summer Wells went missing from her home in Hawkins County, Tennessee, June the 15th, 2021. This is a reading that was suggested by one of my subscribers and viewers. Shouts out to Marie Gattis. Please forgive me for any mispronunciations. I do appreciate my subscribers and viewers when y'all suggest content, and as you see, I do add them to my itinerary. So Summer was reportedly planting flowers with her mother and grandmother outside of her home on Ben Hill Road when she asked to go inside to play with her toys. Her mother went inside a few minutes later and found Summer was gone, leading to a 911 call. How do you go missing inside the house? A massive 12-day search operation involving over 1,000 personnel and covering a 4-mile radius of rugged mountainous terrain found no trace of her. So here's the timeline. On June 15th, she went missing. The 911 was called and a report was made. June 17th, the search expands to cover 1-mile radius of the home. June 26th, this is all in 2021. June 26th, TBI, which is Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, looks for a red Toyota pickup that was seen in the same area. They just want to question the individual. There's not very many vehicles or people in that neighborhood. Okay, they live like in a very country area. Woods surrounds their house. I see trailers on their property, a house that looked like it was built from scratch, like they built it themselves. And in the house is like cluttered with a lot of furniture. And, everybody lives their own way. It's their house. They can live however they want. So when you go, because they went on a tour inside of this house, and in the house, because they live with, like, I think it's Summer, and she has 3 other brothers. I believe it's 3 brothers. Maybe the third boy is a friend of the family, but I do know that Summer has brothers, and I believe it's 3. She's the youngest and the only girl. So in the house, when they went, because this case received a lot of media attention. Like when you type in Summer Wells, all types of media coverage on this case will pop up, no matter where you type in Summer Wells at. So I looked at a lot of media coverage. Like, she's even on Dr. Phil. Like, the parents is on Dr. Phil, and like everybody was interviewing the parents. So I was looking at some of the tours that they went on in the house, and in the house it's full of stuff everywhere. Like, I don't know if it's furniture, books, like just everything is cluttered everywhere. Some people, they seem to can live like that. This seems like that type of family. They just can live, Some people don't live in clutter like that because they can't think straight. I can't think straight in a house like that. But some people can, and we can't judge. That's just how some people live. However, it is a sign. You do need to pay attention to how people live, because everything is a sign. You should always pay attention. How they live, how they dress their children, how they groom their children. Like, these are all types of things that you can pay attention to. So apparently, this interviewer that was going on a tour through her home, he was paying attention to a lot of things that seemed odd. Even down to when they went down into the basement, because the mother claimed that when she asked the boys where Summer was, The boys was like, oh, she went in the basement to play with her toys, like she always do. So when they went downstairs, the way you get downstairs, nobody would never know that there is a downstairs until you actually go downstairs. It looks like they was walking into a kitchen area behind a counter. You know, some houses they have the garbage disposal in the kitchen, and it's in underneath the counter. When you open up the counter, the garbage is inside. The garbage can is inside underneath the counter. This particular staircase leading down into the basement was underneath that counter. You would have never thought that there was a stairwell when you go underneath and open up that counter. So apparently, even the mother was telling the interviewer, if my 6 foot husband can fit underneath here to go downstairs, because this is where his room is, then so can you. So they all squeezed down into that, what I call a cabinet, to go downstairs. And when you go downstairs, you see a whole basement. TVs, furniture, like toys, Summer Wells toys and everything. And there's also a door leading out from the basement outside. But it doesn't look like that from the outside or looking at the house on the property. So it was speculated by a lot of people that somebody abducted her. Even her own father speculated that somebody abducted his daughter. That was his first thing that came to his head. They abducted her. They must have been hiding in the woods, or either they came in through the basement door, because the mother was like, she's not sure if the basement door was locked that day. But Summer usually goes out of that door and she goes around the property up to her swing. So if the door was unlocked that day, that speculation makes sense. Somebody was lurking in those woods, paying attention to the whereabouts of this family, when they're home, when they're not. Or it could have been somebody that knew that they were not home and knew that that would have been the right time to abduct Summer. This had to have been somebody who has also been paying attention to Summer in order for them to get away with abducting her. We do know that Summer did not disappear in thin air. She wasn't abducted by aliens. We do know that, And if she was, I want somebody to come get me. Shit. Take me off this planet. I'll cooperate. Just don't kill me. It's not even funny, but we do know she was not abducted by aliens. So what happened to Summer Wells? Now, I have the birth planetary alignment of when Summer was born, where the planets were, and I also have where the planets were located at the day Summer disappeared. Okay, so first I'm gonna pull some cards. I'm gonna pull 4 cards on this case, on the Summer Wells case. And then I'm gonna open up these charts because I saw something very interesting in the charts that I took notes on. And I know these cards are going to make sense. But I'm going to pull the cards and I'm going to first go over what I saw in the charts. So Summer Wells, born February the 4th, 2016. What happened to Summer Wells, who was born February 4th, 2016, who went missing June 15th, 2021? What happened to Summer Wells, who was born February the 14th, 2016, who went missing from Hawkins County, Tennessee, June the 15th, 2021, in 4 cards? What happened to Summer Wells, who was born February the 4th, 2016, who went missing from Hawkins County, Tennessee, June the 15th, 2021. One, two, three, four. Okay, we're going to have to pull another chart. All right. Now, when the chart card comes out, this means that the rest of the pieces of the puzzle is going to be in the next in another chart. Let's first pull these two charts, the birth chart and the missing chart. And then this chart that we're going to pull is going to be the final dot to connect the pieces. So, all right. Now, Summer Wells was born February the 14th. Summer Wells was born February the 14th, 2016. I want to make sure my mic didn't fall off. So the sun was in Aquarius and the moon was in Sagittarius. And y'all know how I formulate time. Time is the sun divided by moon cycles. When you put a Sagittarius moon in Aquarius's house, which is the 11th house, Aquarius is actually rising. This is also where the sun was that day when she was born. This is where Summer Wells' sun is. This is Summer Wells' birth chart. Remember, you cannot predict whether a person is dead or not by looking at their birth chart. But what you can predict by looking in the 8th house is if they are, what are the energies that played a role in that death? Because energy paints a picture. So in Summer Wells' energy of death, I see Virgo energy. Virgo energy is the energy of help. It is the energy of work. It is also, when it's in the house of death, it's the energy of sickness. It is the energy of poison when it's in the house of death. Also, this is the energy of, if a person is dead, then the person disposed of the body, because Virgo energy represents disposal, the garbage disposal, landfills, trash, dumpsters, sanitation. This is what this energy means in the 8th house. So let's pull the chart of the day Summer Wells disappeared, which was June 15th, 2021. On that day, the sun was in Gemini and the moon was in Leo. And when you put a Leo moon in Gemini's house, you get a 3rd house chart where Gemini comes first. There go Leo right there, the energy of children in the local environment. Now, there's a pattern, and if you've been watching my readings, you will also notice this pattern. Every time I do a reading on somebody who disappeared or have been abducted by the local environment, somewhere in their local environment, this chart always comes out. Y'all notice, this chart always comes out when it deals with somebody that was abducted in the local environment, because this is the chart of the local environment. You can't make this up. This is not a chart that I just pulled to find information. This is the chart of the actual day, June 15th, 2021. This is the June 15th, 2021 chart because of where the sun and the moon was on that day. So I'm going to do an astro analysis rundown on what I noticed in the chart before we get to these cards, right? Now, but first we do have a Libra thing that came out in reverse. Foul play. Y'all know Libra is the energy of cooperation and balance that creates relationships. This is why Libra is the energy of relationships. It rules the 7th house. It rules marriage, spouses, wives, husbands, partners, and it also rules enemies. Okay? Now, this Libra cooperation came out in reverse. I have to read it how it comes out to me. This lets me know this is foul play because this is a Libra thing. It did not say this is a Libra person. This is a Libra thing. So this thing that we're talking about that involves cooperation and balance came out in reverse. So the reverse of cooperation is not cooperation. I was looking for the opposite word of cooperation. In cooperation or uncooperative. is how they say it. Because I don't think uncooperation is a word. But if it ain't, it's going to be a word today. Uncooperative. Okay? Uncooperation. This is foul play. Also, this Saturn thing came out in reverse. Saturn is the authority figure. Saturn represents authority, parents, law enforcement, okay? The government. This is an energy. This is a planet that governs the energy of authority, law, order, okay? Authority comes from the parents. However, this authority thing was also in reverse. This could be an abuse of authority, which will tie into foul play. Saturn is usually governed by the father figure. So, and it rules Capricorn. So we're going to wonder why, we're going to find out why this Saturn came out in reverse. It's going to make sense. Now we have the ninth house that came upright. The ninth house is the house of grandparents. It is the house of higher knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It is Sagittarius's house. It is the house of Jupiter. Okay? It is the house of long distance travels and foreign affairs. It is the house of foreign cultures, foreign countries. Okay? This is also the house of churches, synagogues, places of worship, places of spiritual higher knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is also the house of colleges and universities, higher knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the type of higher knowledge that you pursue after you complete the lower knowledge of Gemini, education and schooling. Elementary school, middle school, high school, that's all Gemini knowledge. But when you further your education to go to college and universities, now you're tapping in to ninth house, Sagittarius knowledge. Okay, so we're going to leave this out. And then we're going to pull a chart. Okay, the energies want me to pull a chart. This is Summer Wells' energy. I pulled cards from her energy and her soul. So apparently this next chart that I pull is going to connect the final dot. But before we pull this next chart, because I don't even know what this next chart is going to be. But before I pull that chart, let me go over what I located in these two charts right here. So, for one, I saw a strong Sagittarius energy, which is the grandparent energy. Whether it's her grandparent or somebody else's grandparent in the picture, another child's grandparent, I saw grandparent energy in the picture. I don't know if it's a male or female, but Sagittarius came out in the 7th house the day that Summer Wells disappeared. Why did I locate Sagittarius in Libra's house? This is Libra's house. Remember, this Libra thing that came out in reverse, this foul play. I see a grandparent energy in this house. Why did I see it in this house? Because I looked at where it came from. It came from, in Summer Wells' birth chart, it came from the 11th house. And this is an 11th house chart. But that's not why Sagittarius is in the 11th house. This is the 11th house chart because Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac. And when Aquarius comes first, this means this is an 11th house chart. Summer Wells' birth chart is an 11th house chart. Ironically, though, when you look in the 11th house, you will see Sagittarius. But that's not why I located Sagittarius first. The reason why I located Sagittarius and followed it from the birth chart to the crime chart is because that is where the victim's moon is. Summer Wells' moon is in Sagittarius. And I always follow the moon first because that represents the activities that was allowed in that specific energy of the crime in relationship to the birth. So Sagittarius came from the 11th house and it showed up in the 7th house. Now, the 11th house is the house of groups, gangs, organizations, friends. This is why I say I'm not sure if this is Summer Wells' grandparent. But this is because there was a whole lot of people involved. Aquarius represents the group in the community. Now, mind you, the day that Summer Wells disappeared, they was coming home from a swim at the creek. They went swimming at a creek. So there was a lot of other people there as well, because that is where they go. Everybody in that town goes swimming. That is a place that they can go swimming. Recreational activity, you know. So this is why when this grandparent energy came from the community. So this is somebody that was in that community. Now we do know Summer Wells went down there with her mother and her grandmother. So for the grandparent energy to show up in the seventh house, if this is not Summer Wells' grandparent involved, this is somebody that her grandmother was in a relationship with, the grandparent's spouse, or somebody that the grandparent was affiliated with, or somebody's grandparent. This is an older individual, and it's a gentleman, it's a man. How I know it's a man is because Saturn came out. But I'm going to show you why else I know it's a man too. But also, Saturn came out in reverse. This is foul play. Now, the fact that I located this grandparent energy in the seventh house, which is also the house of the op, plus being that that's Libra's house, like I told you, the seventh house is Libra's house. And remember, this Libra thing came out. Now, Sagittarius rules the ninth house. Now, the ninth house of Summer's birth, look what you see. This is the grandparents' house. Look what you see in the grandparents' house. This foul play energy. And the ninth house came out in the cards. So this is how I know this is a much older gentleman. Grandparent energy that did this, that's responsible for the disappearance. Somebody is responsible for the disappearance. Like I said, Summer Wells didn't disappear. And she was not abducted by aliens. She wasn't. Because like I said, if she was, I want them to come and get me too. Because I want to leave the planet. But we know she wasn't. So this individual, foul play, is in the grandparent energy. Also, plus Aquarius, because remember, Aquarius comes first in Summer Wells' birth chart. Now, Aquarius lands in the ninth house of the crime chart. You can't make this up. Also, the grandparents' house. There's a lot of grandparent energy. This Libra thing, foul play in the grandparents' house. And look, Aquarius is also, and see, Summer Wells is an Aquarius. This is why I also feel like her grandparent or her grandparent's spouse. Because in Summer Wells' birth chart, her relationship energy to her grandparent, this is also the relationship of the grandparent. And the type of relationship of the grandparent is most likely a friendship, because look at where Aquarius, look in the 11th house. You'll see the grandparent right there, Sagittarius. This elaborates on what kind of relationship is going on in Sagittarius's house. You see Sagittarius right there in the red? The red represents whose house it is. The black represents who's there. And Sagittarius showed up in the 11th house. This is Aquarius's house. And Aquarius comes first. And the day that Summer Wells disappeared, Aquarius comes from the grandparents' house. So this is somebody affiliated with the grandparent. Also, the fact that Sagittarius energy and the ninth house, which is Sagittarius's house, is a common denominator of the energies in this crime. So, of course, we got to follow the planet that rules the common denominator, which is Jupiter. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And the day that Summer Wells was born, in her birth chart energy, Jupiter is in Virgo. You know why that's important? because also in her birth chart energy of death, that's where I see Virgo. So like I said, you can't look at her birth chart energy to determine whether she's dead or not, but what you can do is look in the house of death to determine a very important dot that will be connected to her death when you look in the 8th house. So now that we know where this Virgo energy comes from, is directly connected to whoever was affiliated with her grandparent. This energy that represents the discarding of the body in a sanitation type style, meaning it was wrapped up. It could have been tied up somewhere, put inside of something that represents disposable, a garbage can, a bin, whatever. It's something that is sealed and to dispose of the body. It could have been put in the dumpster and taken out to the landfill. That's what Virgo energy represents in death. But in the energy of the day she disappeared, if you look in the 8th house, you will see Capricorn. How does Capricorn tie in to Virgo? Because let's elaborate on Virgo now. Being that we elaborated on Sagittarius, which was the common denominator that led us to Jupiter being in Virgo, let's elaborate on Virgo, which is in the house of death, to elaborate on the kind of death that this could have been about. That takes us to the next dot. Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury also rules Gemini. And Gemini is the energy of how it happened in the local environment. Gemini comes first the day she disappeared. But before we get to this aspect of Mercury, which rules interaction in the local environment and communication, the Virgo side of Mercury represents practical application. So Mercury, that day of the actual disappearance, was in Gemini. Gemini comes first. But Mercury in Summer Wells' birth energy is in Capricorn. That is why this Capricorn shows up in the 8th house of death the day she disappeared. Capricorn, remember I told you, Capricorn rules Saturn. And this Saturn came out in reverse. So Saturn represents the authority figure. So now we know what kind of authority figure we're dealing with. Somebody in the grandparents' energy. Now, let's pull this third chart to see what comes first. This is going to take us out right here. Let's pull this third chart. Now, how I pull the third chart is I go to my ancestors, which are the planets. It's going to pull a planetary alignment. And we're going to follow that alignment and cast a chart based on where this planet was the day that Summer Wells disappeared. How do you want to close this case out, Summer Wells, in this third chart? What happened to Summer Wells, who was born February the 4th, 2016, who went missing June 15th, 2021? What chart do you want us to pull? Elaborate on this card. Because it told us to pull a chart. You want us to pull a chart? And that's what I'm doing. What chart am I supposed to pull that ties into this investigation? That's going to give us the answers that we need. Venus in the 5th house. Attraction to children. You can't make this up. Venus is the power of attraction. The 5th house is the house of children. Now, Venus was in Cancer that day. Cancer is the family energy. Somebody in the family energy was attracted to Summer Wells, the house of children. Now, Cancer came out in the 5th house, according to this chart. So when Venus in Cancer lands in the 5th house, guess what's rising? Pisces. And I was going to get to Pisces, and I'm going to show you why I was going to get to Pisces. Soon as I pull this chart. All right, Pisces, the 12th house, right? So, Venus is in Cancer, right here in the 5th house. This chart was pulled from the ethers. It was pulled from the energy of Summer Wells. So, Cancer rules the moon. Where was the moon at that day? It was in Leo, the energy of children, right? Now, check this out. In the 5th house of the day she actually disappeared, look what you see. Libra. This foul play. This was somebody that Summer Wells trusted. Made her feel like they could help her. Also, in Summer Wells' 5th house, look what you see. Gemini. Somebody in that local environment. Because Gemini from the 5th house came first. Look at that. I even wrote that down. That was the first thing I wrote. Hold up. That was the first thing I wrote. I followed Gemini. Something told me that Gemini was going to come out. Something told me. That was the first thing I wrote before I started over and did this long astro analysis. Look what I wrote right here. Astro analysis. Summer Wells astro analysis. Gemini ascendant. And it came from Gemini in the 5th house. That is a dot. 2 dots I was going to connect. So that 5th house represents the family member that was attracted to Summer Wells. You cannot make this up. This is why I do what I do, because you cannot make this up. So, let me not mix up these charts. This 12th house chart, Pisces comes first. Why is that important? Because look where Pisces came from the day she disappeared, in the 10th house. That's Capricorn's house. And why is this important? Because this is where Jupiter was. Remember, Jupiter is the common denominator, just like Sagittarius. They both ruled the 9th house, the grandparents' energy. Somebody was hiding in the grandparents' energy. And it showed up in the 10th house of authority figures. This authority figure that represented the foul play. Authority in reverse. The 10th house is Saturn's house. This is Saturn's house. Pisces showed up right there. Pisces is the hidden. And it showed up first in the ethers. It showed up in the cards. This is a 12th house. Now, the 12th house represents the hidden. Who's hiding in the 12th house? Look right there. You'll see Aquarius. That is the individual that came first in Summer Wells' energy. The day she disappeared, that is the individual hiding in her grandparents' energy. Either the grandmother's boyfriend or one of the grandmother's friends, because this was definitely a male. And now this individual is hiding. Let's follow Uranus, because Uranus rules Aquarius. Uranus that day was in Taurus. Which is right here in the local environment. And you know why this is important? Uranus being in Taurus? Because look where Taurus was the day Summer disappeared. Right there in the 12th house too. Hiding. Taurus is about money. Let me find out somebody was selling her for money and I wrote that shit the fuck down too. I'm sorry, I get angry. Innocent children. Look, somebody, here you go, look. Somebody gets money for selling children for sex. I wrote the shit the fuck down. I knew it. Somebody's getting money for selling children for sex. This is absolutely disgusting and unacceptable. This Libra thing in foul play, Venus rules Libra. And Venus is in Cancer, the day that she went missing. This is somebody in her family's energy. If it's not a direct family member, it's somebody in her family's energy. And Venus in Summer Wells' energy is in Capricorn, the authority figure in reverse. Let's find her body. Lost and found. We coming for your body, Summer Wells. Where is your body? Hold on, let me look in the house of death first, too, of the chart that she pulled from the ethers. What's it? Oh, look at that. Libra. Why y'all ain't tell me that? Look at Libra right there in the 8th house. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. Libra, right there in the fucking 8th house. I need to start doing lives. Why y'all ain't tell me Libra was right there in the 8th house? You know what? You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. Where's your body, Summer Wells? Where's the body of Summer Wells? Where is the body of Summer Wells? Where is the body of Summer Wells, who was born February the 4th, 2016, who went missing June 15th, 2021? Where is the body of Summer Wells? Summer Wells, where is your body? It was destroyed in the 12th house. Gunfire. Look at that. The 12th house came out. You can't make this up. It was the fire and destruction. Fire and destruction means gunfire. The body was destroyed, or either it was set on fire to destroy the evidence. Fire and destruction in the 12th house. That's the chart that was pulled from the cards. It told me pull a chart. I follow what the energy tells me to do. Chart, here go the chart, 12th house. Here's where our body is, hiding, hidden. It was destroyed and hidden in the 12th house. In the 12th house, you see Aquarius, that individual. Her body's hidden in that community. Okay? Now, Pisces rules Neptune. Neptune is both in Pisces the day she was born and the day she disappeared. So, let's follow Pisces in all the charts to connect the dot. It showed up first. We know the day she went missing, it came from this 10th house authority figure. This authority figure in reverse. The day in her birth chart, Pisces is right here in the house of money, the 2nd house. That's Taurus's house. And look what's in the 12th house that day. Capricorn. That's where her Venus was. The Venus that elaborated on the partner that killed her that day. Venus was in Capricorn in Summer Wells' energy. That's the person that was hiding in the 12th house. The person that killed her and destroyed her, 12th house. Capricorn, what's in the 12th house the day she went missing? Taurus, money. That's where Capricorn was. Capricorn is in, hold up, in this house. Look where Capricorn is, in the 11th house, Aquarius's house. I'm sorry, y'all, I get overwhelmed with these charts because all the dots connect perfectly to tell the story that I just told you. Her body's destroyed. Yep. Somebody that knows her family, that's in her family's energy, knows exactly what happened to her body. Evidence. I'm going to pull 3 cards from this energy for some evidence that can lead us to the killer. I'm going to pull 3 cards from the energy of Summer Wells' disappearance and death, June 15th, 2021. 3 cards for evidence leading to the killer today. Today is December 11th, 2025. And I want to pull 3 cards. Evidence will come out in 3 cards. that will lead us to the killer. 1, 2, 3. She had on pink the last day she was seen. The pink garment. I feel like they're going to find this. They're going to find this. She had on pink the last day she was seen. And in fact, that picture that's flooding the internet, that's the picture. That's what she had on the last day she was seen because her grandmother took that picture. Why did her grandmother take that picture of her sleeping in the car? Everybody's saying that she's not sleeping in that picture. She's dead. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think about that picture. But I do know they're going to find this pink garment. And it's the 12th house item. That's hiding because that is who destroyed her from the 12th house. You can't make this up. That's the chart that was pulled. They're going to find this pink garment on somebody, in somebody's energy. And that's when they're going to know who the fucking killer is. July and August, you got Leo. This is somebody born in July and August. Somehow, this Leo energy, July and August. Yep. Somebody's going to come out. Let's follow Leo right quick. The day she disappeared, look at Leo right there in the 3rd house, in the local environment, which is where this person would have been monitoring Summer Wells' whereabouts, waiting for her to get down, come out that door, or they know that she be in that basement. Somebody was on that property. Where is Leo at in Summer Wells' energy? Leo is right there in the 7th house. The 7th house is where this grandparent energy came from when I looked at it first. And then in the 7th house of the chart that was pulled from the cards, you see Virgo. This energy right here is the person that disposed of her body right here. This could have been somebody that was helping her too. And where's Leo at in the chart that was pulled from the cards? Right there in the 6th house, in Virgo's house. That's Virgo's house. That is Virgo's house right there. That is Virgo's house. Can't make this up. So pay attention, because these are going to surface. These 12th house items that are hiding, that also may have been destroyed, but they're going to find something that has to do with this pink garment. They're going to find her pink clothing. Yeah, and the way they find it is going to lead to the killer. So remember these 3 cards. Also, for the record, the 12th house is also the house of drugs and alcoholism. Something told me to speak that too while I'm at it. So that's going to be my reading for Summer Wells. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. And may she rest in peace.